Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you for making the time.
Absolutely. Can you start by telling us a little about yourself?
Sure, yeah. Sort of take you through my resume, which you have a copy of there. But to start at the beginning, you can see that I'm originally from New England, um, grew up in New Hampshire, went to college at a military academy in Vermont. Um, After graduating from there, lived in Vermont a little while longer. Um, Eventually started a sort of real career working with LL Bean in retail. With them, started as just a part-time seasonal employee. Uh, Worked my way up to a leader in the store. Then moved into outdoor education, working for their outdoor discovery schools. I ran programming and educational classes, tours. Had a few employees under me there that I would schedule and train as part of the outdoor discovery schools. After doing that for a couple of years, I moved back into the retail heavy side of the business with an opportunity to move to Charlottesville to open a new store for LL Bean. So I came down here in 2017, opened a new LL Bean store, was the assistant store manager there for a couple of years, and moved out of retail December of 2019. So just before COVID happened, I decided I was done with retail and luckily was able to get out before having to deal with all that. Worked sales for a little bit for a craft brewery, and then during that time I had started volunteering at the Earlysville Volunteer Fire Company, which was near where we were living, my wife and I, in Earlysville, Virginia. Through them, I received some training as an EMT. Um, Started learning the field of EMS. Found it to be very interesting, very engaging. Sort of became passionate about it, and eventually decided to give it a shot as a career because I wanted to learn more, wanted to go to school to become a paramedic, um, and to make that all work for a volunteer organization along with other full time commitments was going to be difficult. So I decided to make EMS and fire service a career choice for myself. So I started with started with Greene County EMS just to test it out, part time employee with them as an EMT. Liked doing it as a paid job just as much as I liked it as a volunteer. Then got hired on with the City of Charlottesville Fire Department full time. That's where I'm currently at. Firefighter EMT there. Currently in a paramedic program with Piedmont Virginia Community College. Expected to complete that this December. So I just became an advanced EMT, released in Greene County as an AEMT, and then hopefully as a paramedic as well for Greene and the City of Charlottesville once the course is complete.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Can you tell me what's one weakness and one strength that you'll bring to this company?
Sure. So the start with the strength. I think many people would comment on my work ethic. I believe that's been a strength of mine since I started working um, early on in high school. Um, it's something both my parents are incredibly hard workers, especially my mother, who I grew up with and saw her working incredibly hard from before my brother and I would wake up. She would work one job, come home, get us ready for school, and then while we were at school, she'd be off to a second job and sometimes a third job in the evening. So I learned that from a young age. It's kind of come naturally to me, having watched that as I grew up. I like staying busy. I like feeling productive. It's something that makes me feel good, gives me energy. And if I sort of don't have that, I'll always be looking towards something to do, something that I can work on or get better at. So I take pride in my work ethic, and I would say that that's probably my number one strength. Um, Along with that, I would say my weakness is in a way connected to that strength. Um, if I do have downtime or anything, I have a hard time sometimes relaxing and just enjoying downtime, and so I'll end up finding new things to do, new things to learn. I can sometimes overload my plate with a lot of different jobs or school or training all at once. Like recently, I was in a DPO program while in my paramedic course, still working part time job, working my full time job, um, and then still my family commitments as well. So sometimes it can be a lot. That's probably a weakness of mine is sometimes managing time and knowing when to say no to extra commitments to maintain a balanced lifestyle. But I just enjoy pushing myself and the challenge, and sort of feeding that work ethic.
Great. Can you tell me about a time you disagreed with a rule or approach in your current job, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, so my current job, my full time job, as I mentioned, with the City of Charlottesville Fire Department, um, fire department being their focus, is the fire side of things. Um, and as we all know, nearly 90% of the workload in emergency services is the EMS side. So that's one thing I've struggled with there a little bit is a lack of training, in regards to EMS, and their EMS CE program in house, being pretty insufficient to meet the needs for their providers to be able to recertify, at every research cycle without having to complete a lot of online coursework. Um, and part of, as a new person, there's not a lot of input you can necessarily give to a long time department that has people sort of embedded in roles that they've been there for decades. Um, but the best way that I find to handle things like that is to, um, work around the system. So I've went after and got my education coordinator, my EC certification through the Office of EMS, as a way to at least benefit my own shift at the department to, teach CEs to them and scan hours for them to help them not have the mundane task at every research cycle to sit there in front of a computer and complete hours and hours of online CEs. So working on creating, my own programs and my own, trainings that I can check boxes for them that we know we have to do every 2 and 4 years, depending on your state or, national research. Um, so that hopefully there's not as much of that mundane online activity. Um, and I'm not necessarily a training officer at the department, but it's something at least on my own shift, they've embraced and that we've been able to do, to make ourselves better and to focus on that EMS aspect of what a majority of our services that we provide to the community. Um, so I would say that's probably something I disagree with, but sort of a weakness within the department that, um, I've noticed. And instead of letting it bother me, I've tried to find a way to actually take some action to, implement a change around that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing and thank you for coming in today.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.